Open Meetings Act requiring in-person attendance by members of the public body are suspended. Specifically, the requirements that a public body must be physically present and the conditions limiting when remote participation is permitted. On Friday, June 12, 2020, the Governor signed PA 100-640, Senate Bill 2135, into law, amending the OMA to expressly authorize public bodies to meet remotely without the otherwise required quorum present during a declared public health disaster, such as those related to COVID-19. In keeping with this amendment, a roll call vote will be taken with every action item on this agenda. This City Council meeting will be held in person and remotely. The meetings can be viewed on Channel 9 for MediaCom customers living in Rock Island or on the city's YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/rockislandil/live. To participate remotely during the public comment or public hearing portion of the meeting, please join by phone at 605-432-8378 and use PIN number 923-49949.
Okay. Then we'll do a roll call, please.
Alderman Clark. Alderman Hurt.
Here.
Alderman Spurgettis. Not on yet?
He is online.
He is? Okay.
Present. I'm here.
Okay. Alderman Parker. Alderman Parker.
He's here too. They're all here.
Okay.
He's muted.
Here.
Okay. Alderman Poulos.
Here.
Alderman Geenan.
Present.
Mayor Chomes.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Did we get Dylan?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry, gang, I was muted.
Okay. We will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Public comment. Is there anybody on the phone that wishes to make any comments? *6 will unmute your microphone. Open up to the general public. Anybody wish to say anything? James, I don't know if we're getting a little feedback from you or not, if you're muted or not, but somebody we're getting a little static. Okay, I do not hear anybody at this point for public comment. Item number 7.
Minutes from the August 10, 2020 City Council meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes as printed.
Second. Spurgettis.
It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Parker.
Aye.
Alderman Poulos.
Aye.
Alderman Geenan.
Aye.
Alderman Hurt.
Yes.
Alderman Spurgettis.
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Yes.
6-0. Motion carries.
Item 8, update. All right, a couple items. Thursday night Groove concert. Get your groove on with Been There, Done That at Schrebert Park, sponsored by Unity Point Health, Trinity, Rock Island Happy Joe's, and Friendship Manor, hosted by on August 27th, 2020. August 27th, 2020. Thursday Night Groove begins at 6 p.m. with the opening of food and beer sales. Featured will be Rock Island Parks and Recreation concession stand with brats and hot dogs, Happy Joe's Pizza, and beer sales by Bent River Brewing Company, who will have their seasonal on tap in addition to their standard lineup of craft brews. The live concert will be from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Admission is free, so come out and enjoy the fun. Nests, curbside, pay what you can pickup. The Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center is hosting a Nest Cafe curbside pickup event. Come and join us on August 31st, 2020, from 4 to 7 p.m. or until sold out. They will be serving sweet sesame chicken over noodles with harvest vegetables. Nest's mission is to nourish bodies and the community by providing delicious, sustainability sourced food to all who enter, regardless of their means. The MLK Center is at 630 9th Street in Rock Island. Municipal election packets are available tomorrow. Rock Island's municipal election will be held on April 6th, 2020, and starting tomorrow, candidates' packets will be available in the Executive Assistant's / Interim City Clerk's office, first floor of City Hall. Wards 1, 3, 5, 7, and the mayor will be on the ballot in April. If you ever thought about serving your community and you live in one of those wards or in the city for mayor, now may be the time to run for an elected office. Stop in and get your packet or go to elections.il.gov for more information. Also, one of the most popular questions these days citizens have been asking about tree and shrub pickup and are complaining about. I just want to let you know that it is happening still in Rock Island. It's a lot of stuff to pick up, and it will take weeks. And when I say weeks to finish this project, it could be another 4, 5, 6 weeks before it is completed. So please bear with us. They're working very hard every day at picking this stuff up. I know some have asked even about the grass underneath, and it's going to die or whatever it is. Trying to address some of the issues here publicly. But most grass might go dormant, but it's not going to die. It'll come back fine next spring in most cases. So once again, have patience. You can call Public Works if you have any questions about it, but they're working through the process, neighborhood by neighborhood, going through what your normal garbage collection day is where they started, and then working through. But it's going to take a number of weeks yet to finish. So please have patience. I appreciate it. Thank you. Number 9.
Proclamation declaring all essential workers as Rock Island's Citizens of the Year. Whereas the Rock Island Citizen of the Year Awards have, in the course of 4 decades, become an important means of recognizing individuals and organizations for their contributions to the City of Rock Island and of expressing the gratitude of this community, and have been every year since the 1980s. And whereas honorees in the categories of business, professional, education, organization, individual, city employee, and honorary citizen are selected by a committee of their peers based on their community involvement, community impact, and their unique contributions. And whereas we find ourselves in the midst of a year without precedent in the living memory of this community, as COVID-19 continues to assault the health and well-being of all Rock Islanders unprecedented ways.
Now, therefore, I, Mike Tomes, Mayor of the City of Rock Island, along with the members of our City Council, proclaim the 2020 Rock Island Citizen of the Year Award be presented to all essential workers in our city. We are eternally grateful for your dedication, service, perseverance, and tenacity while putting yourselves and your families at risk in coming to the aid of our community. Dated this 24th day of August. So once again, thank you. I don't know if anybody here wants to take this or pick this up, but very well deserved and thoughtful, essential workers. Item number 10.
Presentation of the Financial Management Report for the second quarter 2020.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So tonight I'm presenting the second quarter financial management report. We actually just did the first quarter not too long ago, so now we're on track for the year. Our first schedule of the financial management report is always our revenues and expenditures and net position of each of the funds of the city, of which there are about 44. So this is kind of a blend of an income statement and a balance sheet. The first set of funds are our governmental funds, and they are all contained on this first page of this report. In some cases, funds are grouped together. There might be more than one fund under a certain category. A good example of that would be the TIF funds, which are kind of near the top of that page under special revenues. Governmental funds, just as a reminder, are mostly supported by taxes, some user fees, but mostly taxes and also grant funds. I won't go over this in extreme detail. However, the largest governmental fund is our general fund, so we always spend a little bit more time on that, and that is at the top of your page. The budgeted revenue for the general fund is $37,944,286, and at this point during the year, we have received 28% of the general fund revenues. On the expenditure side, the budget is $37,929,839, and if you were to look back at the first quarter's management report that we delivered just a few weeks ago, that was a different number. It was $1 million more. So at the June 8th council meeting, we presented budget adjustments reducing the general fund budget, so just wanted to remind you of that. Another item I wanted to point out on this page was in the other governmental section, so that starts about halfway down this first page. The second row under motor fuel tax reads MFT Rebuild Illinois. That stands for Motor Fuel Tax Rebuild Illinois. You'll see no budgeted revenue and no budgeted expenditures at this time, but you do see receipts of $428,963. So this is the first allocation of the Rebuild Illinois grants that the city has received from the state. We have, since this recording of these revenues, another allocation, bringing our total receipts to $857,000. So those funds will be programmed and placed into the budget, whether it be this year or in 2021. So that's kind of exciting. Turning to the next page. This is the remainder of the city's funds, also grouped in some cases, but the first section is proprietary funds. It's divided into two, the first being enterprise funds. These are mostly public works, utility funds, but also you do see parks and recreation there. So these funds are supported by charges for services for the use of water, sewer, refuse, etc. And then we have our internal service funds. Everything looks as expected there at this point during the year. Before covering the totals, I wanted to point out in the fiduciary funds, you'll see the row pension trust funds. Just to give you an update on these investment funds, which do total around $60 million. The pension trust funds each had their quarterly meeting on July 22nd. They have them the same day. And we did learn from our investment advisors that second quarter earnings were pretty good. They were both over 10%, but year to date we are down 3 to 5%. And that's still about the same today, 3 weeks later. So just something to keep in mind. As you do see that last column on that same row, cash available, $2.4 million. Just a reminder that that cash is not available for operations of the city, but it is reported in this format. So total city position at the bottom, we have received $33,077,361, or 30% of our budgeted revenue. and expenditures total $45,255,307 for 35% of our budgeted expenditures. The next page does dive into just a little bit of detail on the general fund expenditures, so it highlights all of the departments that make up the general fund, including the support departments like general admin and human resources, finance, and IT, but the biggest ones being police, fire, and public works. Again, that revised budget, $37.8 million, is $1 million less than what it was earlier in the year and what we adopted. Actual expenditures, $16.6 million and 44%, and that's very similar to where we were in prior years. Any questions on those before I move on?
One question, if I may. Now, on the percent of budget, where should we be right now then? We should be at the 75% of expenditures if we were in a perfect world?
At this point during the year, with it being halfway through the fiscal year, in general, 50%, but it really can fluctuate from one type of fund to another. For instance, property taxes are distributed in 4 installments that don't necessarily follow the quarter, so that's a really good example of where it doesn't always follow 50%.
Oh, 50%, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any others? All right, so moving on to the state and local tax revenue analysis. This is one of my favorite reports usually, and this year I'm spending a lot of time updating this monthly. What you do see here, though, is the annualized amount based on what we've received through June. And just want to point this out, in normal years, this is a pretty good indicator as we move through the year of where we'll end up at the end of the year. This year, that's not quite the same scenario, and so as we go through this report, I might just highlight a few of the things that we're seeing as we review distributions, because now we've received July. It's August 24th. Now we have July, and July is not on here. And then I do have schedules that follow the same format that predict future percentages of receipts based on different things, trends, IML's guidance, perhaps the Department of Revenue, what they're telling us, what they're seeing. But these first two categories, income tax and replacement tax, as you annualize the receipts we've received so far year to date, it does look about, between the two of them, if you look at the last column, bottom row, about close to $400,000 added revenue over our budget, which in theory sounds really exciting, but is not quite the case. You have to keep in mind on both of these, there is a lag of when they're received, and it doesn't show the full impact of the economy on income tax. The state did also delay the due date for income tax, but both IML and Department of Revenue do feel that we'll be about 12 to 15% below budget, especially for their fiscal year, which goes into 2021. Some kind of good news points for the city has been our sales tax receipts. As we were moving into the throes of the pandemic and our bars and restaurants were closed, it was quite concerning. Finance did spend some time diving into details of all of our sales tax remitters and kind of decided that right about 20% of our sales tax remitters are bars and restaurants. And many of them did continue to operate, and we all like to eat out and support our local businesses. And so you do see that in our trends. You don't see it as much right here because it certainly did fall off, but I do predict that we will miss budget on these. So on these first two pages, about $600,000 between the two, as you still predict that future months will be below what our normal budgeted numbers is. But the good news is that this has improved every month when we plop is a technical accounting term, those numbers into our schedules. It is trending a little bit higher. So when I give my update to Randy, I can usually provide some good news, and then we do look at our future percentages and adjust them some. So that's been good. Would you like some more good news? I hear yes. So, use tax. Use tax continues to trend up. In part, this is the streamlined sales tax, online sales tax impact. But I do predict that we will exceed budget by $211,000 in this category. And this has been really nice because there's been several years in a row where we've been able to increase the budget in this category. So it looks like we'll continue to do so. The next two aren't so good, and we know, we mention this every quarter, but the municipal utility tax and the telecom tax just continue to decrease. Various reasons. With the utility tax, it can be weather dependent, whether it's the heat of the summer or the cold winters. Can also be more efficient homes, more efficient HVAC systems that are installed that are just using less energy. But this model right now is showing about $100,000 less is probably where we'll end up, and then we will adjust the 2021 budget accordingly. Telecom, same thing. We just don't have the separate landlines and services and purchase services that were taxed under this in the past. So there's just been a change in our environment. And food and beverage, this is our 1.5% locally collected sales tax and follows the trends that I mentioned with the sales tax and the local option tax. Those two are both collected by the state. Gaming tax, we don't have any receipts so far since the pandemic started because the casinos did open up the early July, and so we're anxiously awaiting for the month to end, this next month to end, and be able to have some indication of where those receipts are. I know for those of us that drive out that way or perhaps live in that ward, you do continue to see more and more cars, throughout the parking lot there, which I think is a good trend. So we're really looking forward to seeing those numbers. So in total, right now, my general fund estimated revenue loss is $2.7 million for 2020. That has improved. Early on, we were saying a much higher number, and this is just for the general fund. We'll see reduced revenues in these areas, but there are also other areas that are impacted, one being investment income, but also hotel motel tax and our gas tax, etc. Any other questions? Great, thank you.
Thank you. Is there more? There's more in there or not? Is that it? Well, I see there's 2 more pages, 9 of 11, so I didn't know if you were going through the others.
I guess I could cover those. Gosh, I just was done with the numbers.
That's fine. You don't have to if you're done.
No, we'll just run over these really quick. Thank you for pointing that out. That's funny. So on that first report, the revenue and income and net position does have a total of cash amongst all the funds. And so that number ties to this. So the bottom row, June 2020, our total cash and investments, so basically mostly liquid investments, $21.8 million. So here you can see how that is divided up amongst different funds. And the bottom graph kind of shows you the trend over time of where the city has been in their cash position. And the next report also provides the rate, so you can see a history of the rates that we've earned on the various pools of cash back to February of 2019. The graphical presentation is a good indication of where we're seeing rates headed. So not as much investment income to be earned these days, but we'll keep trying to chase yield as best as we can. With that, I am done.
You're done. Any questions from anyone?
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 11.
A special ordinance removing the handicap parking space in front of 1528 44th Street.
Alderman Sturgis moves to approve the ordinance.
Second.
Been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Alderman Poulos,
Aye.
Alderman Geenan,
Aye.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderman Spergettis,
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item number 12.
A special ordinance placing the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center parking lot, 639th Street, under city ordinance enforcement.
Motion to approve the ordinance?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Alderman Poulos,
Aye.
Alderman Geenan,
Aye.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderman Spergettis,
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item 13.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds, Series 2020, for large meter replacements, full aeration process improvements at both wastewater plants, HVAC upgrades at various city buildings, interior lighting conversion to LED at various city facilities, and LED upgrades for city-owned streetlights, all at an estimated cost of $13,860,000. First reading.
Alderman Parker moves to consider the ordinance.
Second.
Forget it.
It's been moved in second. Any discussions?
Yeah, I would like to have Stephanie or whomever talk about the financing for this project, whether it has been affected by the coronavirus pandemic and how it all is looking.
So Alderman Parker, your question about whether it's been affected by the pandemic, certainly going to the market has been impacted by the pandemic. Part of the delay in proceeding forth with the financing.
Are we still anticipating being able to, I don't know how to phrase this, like still anticipating to be able to do as large of a project and have the rebates and efficiencies sufficient to make up for the debt that the city takes on?
That's a great question, and my answer to that is yes. Early in the year when, I think it was my birthday, April 29th, when we were going to do the ratings call with S&P, the markets just weren't good. People weren't buying bonds. They didn't have a lot of information. So my birthday got a little bit better when we didn't have to go through the ratings call process. And so the markets really have improved, and they are flying to quality, and governmental bonds are good quality. While the rates that might be earned aren't what they were, for us that's good because that will lower our interest cost for the project. So from everything that we do see, people are buying bonds. One of the reasons that they're safe is that they are backed by the full faith of the government, which means that we will always pay on those because we have the opportunity to levy for those principal and interest payments if for some reason something were to happen. And so there's a lot of faith in that. So I don't predict any problems with it. The project is moving forward. The ordinance that's set before you for approval tonight is a parameters ordinance, and we have done these historically in the city. And when I say parameters, it's an amount not to exceed. It's an interest rate not to exceed. It also has a date that's not a hard closing date in 3 weeks from now. So it actually extends through the end of the year. So if we had any issue in selling certain series, whether it's the series that are due early on or 20 years from now, we do have some opportunity to keep pushing those sales and finding investors for those bonds. So it's an astute way to issue bonds, and I have no doubt that we'll be able to sell them.
Thank you very much.
I guess I would like to add, once again, at this point, a majority, if not all of this, will be paid through the efficiencies that we'll have from the new equipment we have, along with, of course, if it don't, the guarantee from Johnson Controls. So this will not cause a property tax increase if people are thinking that or hearing that out there. And the city is making a large step forward of updating the equipment and being a much more efficient, green city and taking a less carbon footprint, so to speak. So it's a very a big step, important for the city council to do this and the city staff to make this initiative and recommendation. So thank you for everybody that's done their work for this, and it really sets the stage for the future for the efficiencies of the city.
And those are really important points to make in this project. And the project spans several departments, not just general fund related departments, but the utilities are a big part of it, the library, MLK. So it is an exciting project that is a good portion of it is funded by those utility savings and operation savings, which there was a lot of time spent on measuring those.
Right. So I just, I bring that up, not to belabor it, but I got to say that I commend the city staff that's been around for a number of years and the councils and even the past. We just toured the water filtration plant, and that taking us into the future, large investment, but taking us into, at this point, if you go the same as last time, 100 years into the future, and being a lot more efficient, a lot safer, a lot better quality, along with the stormwater treatment and sewage treatment plants have invested a large dollar money over the last 10, 15 years, once again, to take the city into the future a lot more efficient and quality. And so those three avenues are great milestones for the city that, once again, like I say, the staff has brought forth along with the leadership of the city councils that I think says a lot for the city of Rock Island to stay on top of matters and thinking of not just today, but tomorrow. So, thank you. Okay, roll call.
Alderman Parker?
Aye, sorry, muting problem.
Alderman Poulos?
Aye.
Alderman Geenan?
Aye.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderman Spurgettis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item number 14.
Claims item A, report from the Public Works Department regarding payments to Craft Power Corporation, Gaylord, Michigan, in the amount of $33,685 for the engine service work performed at the Mill Street Treatment Plant.
Motion to approve claims item A as recommended.
Swanson seconds.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Alderman Poulos?
Aye.
Alderman Geenan?
Aye.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderman Spurgettis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Yes.
6-0, motion carries. Claims item B, report from the Public Works Department regarding payment to Langman Construction Incorporated, Rock Island, Illinois, in the amount of $16,853.83 for the emergency water main repair on 34th Avenue between 14th and 16th Streets.
I move to approve the claims on item B as recommended.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion?
This is Alderman Parker. I need to recuse myself due to the nature of my employment.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Poulos?
Aye.
Alderman Geenan?
Aye.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderman Spurgettis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Yes.
5-0, motion carries.
Item 15.
Claims for the week of July 31st through August 6, 2020, in the amount of $601,863.62. August 7th through August 13th, 2020, in the amount of $452,323.58. August 14th through August 20th, 2020, in the amount of $353,874.64. and payroll for the weeks of July 27th through August 9th, 2020, in the amount of $1,515,738.08.
This is Alderman Geenan. Motion to allow the claims and payroll.
Spargetta seconds.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Alderman Poulos?
Aye.
Alderman Geenan?
Aye.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderman Spargettis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item 16.
ACH payments for the month of July 2020 in the amount of $4,913,725.48.
Motion to approve the ACH payments.
Second.
Been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Alderman Poulos?
Aye.
Alderman Geenan?
Aye.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderman Spargettis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item 17.
Purchase card claims for the period of June 27th through July 27th, 2020, in the amount of $36,232.18.
Alderman Spargetta moves to approve the purchase card claims.
Swanson seconds.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to make just a brief comment. I'm getting a little echo on my end. I don't know if you are on your end. This has been mentioned before, and so I'm going to not belabor it, but I want to repeat that how important it is for people who are using our city purchase card for city purchases to try, when possible, whenever possible, to purchase their items in Rock Island. I see purchases from grocery stores and hardware stores and discount stores that are in Rock Island and some that are not in Rock Island. And I'm feeling that at this point in our economy, our retailers are really needing all the support we can give them, and that in turn gives us more sales tax support for the city. So I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but I'm just mentioning it so that our employees, when they're using the purchase cards, can take a look at where they're buying things from and, if at all possible, shop and buy in Rock Island. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I do have a question. Not to go through the whole purchase card thing, but I did have a question on one item here, and maybe city manager can respond to this. There was a payment made to DPH regulatory program, and it states it's a Iowa master license renewal. Could someone, I guess I'm just trying to figure out what that is.
Yeah, let me look it up here. I think that's that may be one of the inspections licenses, if I remember right.
You have it there, Steph? Or?
DPH regulatory program for $240. Is that the one?
That's correct.
Tim's Iowa master license renewal. That's our plumbing inspector's license renewal.
I guess I'm just confused because it says Iowa. I'm not sure why it's not Illinois.
I'll get that information for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Alderman Poulos?
Aye.
Alderman Geenan?
Aye.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderman Spargettis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item 18.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding bids for the demolition project CED ID 202000728 for 12 residential properties, awarding the bid to Jimax Corp., Peoria, Illinois, for the maximum cost of $262,577.38.
Move to approve the bid as recommended and authorize the city manager to execute the contract agreements.
Spaghetti seconds.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
This is Alderman Parker. I need to recuse myself from this vote as well due to the nature of my employment. In addition to that, I have a question. So this is 12 residential properties being demolished. Are they scattered throughout the city, or is this a large project with the buildings close together?
They're throughout the city. I can give you all the addresses on these.
This is just our usual demolition.
This is our normal process we go through every year. Properties that have, we've been problem properties for a while, and it takes a while to get to the demo point. Miles, you want to say something? No, I think that's good.
Yeah, and we are working on one property that we're not demoing.
There is one property in here that was on the list, and then, after the demo notices went out, the owner came and said, well, he's going to either get some bids or try to sell it. He didn't want to the bids were too expensive on what it would take to bring the property up, but it's now in the process of a sale, so it's still in here because it went through the process, but it's not going to be demoed as long as we're going through that sale process, and I'm working with the owner on that, prospective owner.
And then in addition to that, we are using some of our traditional demo funds for the rehabilitation of derelict buildings, or that's something that we've been planning on doing, correct?
Yeah, so there aren't any on this one right here. We are using some CDBG money on that project that's come to you before that is a renovation project. So what happens is we look at these, when something comes up for tax sale, we look at it and determine if it can be rehabbed or not. And if it can, then it would be a property that we may pursue. And then we look for a bidder. So we did that with one property before. We were able to get one bidder, and we're continuing to do that. Typically, a property that's in good shape, someone has snatched it up before we get to it. But occasionally we do come across one, and yes, we are starting to do that, where either we'll rehab it as part of a CDBG program, or else we'll put it out for bid, and a contractor has to submit their proposal on how they're going to bring it up to standards.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Poulos.
Aye.
Alderman Geenan.
Aye.
Alderman Hurt.
Yes.
Alderman Spaghettis.
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Yes.
5-0, motion carries.
Item number 19.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding an agreement with Mr. Matthew Anselmi, Moline, Illinois, for the disposal of breakout debris at no cost to the city.
This is Alderman Parker. Move to approve the agreement as recommended and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement document.
I'll second that.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Parker.
Aye.
Alderman Poulos.
Aye.
Alderman Geenan.
Aye.
Alderman Hurt.
Yes.
Alderman Spaghettis.
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item 20.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding an ordinance amending the boundaries of the Quad Cities Enterprise Zone and intergovernmental agreement.
A motion to consider suspended rules and pass the ordinance.
Spaghetti seconds.
Close tie there. Moved in second. Any discussion?
This is Alderman Parker. I believe this was a point of contention at the East Moline City Council meeting a while back. I have been in communication with some of the aldermen in East Moline regarding their concerns, specifically with the 3M plant addition to the enterprise zone. And for that reason, even though obviously it's not particularly relevant to the city of Rock Island, I intend on voting no on it after speaking with some of the East Moline aldermen.
Okay. I must say that, once again, it affects East Moline in the county and that sort of thing, not Rock Island. And of course, we would hope if we wanted to expand it, those cities, because they'd have to vote on it too, would play with us and help support ours too. But any other discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Parker.
No.
Alderman Poulos.
Aye.
Alderman Geenan.
No.
Alderman Hurt.
Yes.
Alderman Spaghettis.
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Yes.
And as this, Linda, as this is Dave Morrison, this is suspend the rules. It would require a supermajority, and I believe it's a 4-2, so it would be a non-pass.
Motion does not carry.
Yeah, I wish we wouldn't do those suspend the rules things because it just messes everything up.
I have made that recommendation in the past, actually.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, so the recommendation was made in the past, and the majority of council wanted to proceed, so it's listed the way it is, and then council has the option to make whichever motion they wish.
Now, this is too bad because, like I say, it really does not affect our city, and it's helping another city have this economic development tool in their tool bag to be able to entice development. If we wanted this in the city of Rock Island, we would hope that our sister cities here, or neighboring cities, would help us out in expanding it if we needed to have that tool in our toolbox to be able to have this incentive.
Mayor Tomes, this is Alderman Spaghettis. I have a question for the city attorney.
Yes.
At what point, how soon can this item be moved to reconsider?
Well, you could, someone on the prevailing side could do so at any time at the next council meeting. Also, depending on how similar or dissimilar another motion might be, it would be a judgment call as far as if there was a change of some, to some, I won't say significant degree, but to a degree that it was not the exact same motion, it might be possible to bring it back without someone from the prevailing side. But the typical situation is if someone on the prevailing side asks to reconsider it, and when that happens, then it could come back as soon as next council meeting.
Is changing the motion to consider only significant enough change?
I would have to read, so I had to do a little research on that. If it was coming from somebody who wasn't on the presiding side, if it was coming from somebody who was on the presiding side, I don't think it would be a problem, an issue at all.
Can it be done tonight?
That I don't know off the top of my head whether or not it could be done tonight. I suppose that if someone, I don't know. I can look while you're doing the other items here. I can look pull out my Robert's rules and see if that's something that would be allowable.
Thank you.
I guess and that would have to be brought forth by either Alderman Parker or Alderman Geenan.
That's correct.
Yes, on the prevailing.
On the prevailing, right. But if that constitutes enough change by just making it consider, then it can be brought up by anybody.
That would be correct. And once again, I'll see what I can find out while we're moving forward on our other agenda items.
Item 21.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a request from Jay Mainlander for the rezoning of 14.74 acres at 2300 79th Avenue West from R7, mobile home manufactured housing, to R1, one family residence.
Motion to approve the zoning request of the city attorney for an ordinance. Did that go through?
Yeah, it went through fine. I haven't heard a second.
Swanson seconds.
Thank you. Motion moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Alderman Poulos,
Aye.
Alderman Geenan,
Aye.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderman Spaghettis,
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item 22.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding the solicited proposals for a comprehensive analysis of the city's water and sewer fees and rates, recommending the study be awarded to Stanley Consultants, Muscatine, Iowa, for the proposed $37,115.
Motion to approve the selection is recommended and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Alderman Parker, seconds.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
This is Alderman Spaghettis. I'd like someone to explain why we're doing this and what do we hope to achieve.
Yeah. Can you hear me? This is Mike Bartels. Can you hear me?
You're a little muffled, but I can hear you.
This better? I'm pretty far away.
Seems a little better.
Okay, so the goal was of the rate study was to develop fair and equitable rates and charges that best meet the city's goal and objective. So we've never had a rate study done, to my knowledge, and Randy could chime in on that. I believe it's nice to have a private entity look at their rate structures and see what just a full in-depth audit of our rate system. Many cities do these. Our neighboring city, Moline, East Moline has done them in the past. Just a different set of eyes to evaluate, do a full in-depth analysis of our entire system, from zoning, distribution, capital improvement projects. We've just are completing our water filtration project, which is a massive $20 million project. Before this, we finished our sewer treatment, combined sewer overflow project. We've had many outfall stations done. So we've had millions of dollars of investments into our structure or our system, but we've never really done that in-depth analysis to see what our rates should be, or if the rates are currently where they need to be. So that's really the reason for it.
Thank you, Mike.
This is Alderman Parker. I have a question. If we are considering selling the infrastructure, why would we spend money to do this rate study?
The rate study would be required if we were going to look at privatization of our water and sewer system. So that would be something that whoever was interested in bidding on it would need prior to moving forward.
They want to do it? Why would the person purchasing and setting the rates not be responsible for doing the survey?
Well, in order to bid on it, that's one of the components, and you're going to have multiple bidders. I guess each bidder could do their own independent rate study.
I mean, if I'm buying a house, I pay to have it inspected by an inspector, right? The seller typically doesn't pay to have a home inspection done to then hand over to the buyers, right? It just, I don't see why we should be paying for this if we have parties that are interested in buying it.
Well, number one, those parties have asked for it. Number two, this is really for us. The council has not made a decision on doing any of this, and this is a very important, tool that we need to determine that we have the right rates. And again, anyone else that's looking at it is going to need to determine all that also. One of the things they'll first ask is, have you ever done a rate study to know if our rates are even where they should be? So it is something that will be asked for, and it's something we're going to need. The council, again, has made no decision on, any kind of privatization of our water and sewer system other than, they want information about it, but we've made no decisions on it.
It also could take, I hate to say years before that even happens. I mean, even if you started researching it and negotiating and everything else, it could be a year, at least a year, if not years away before that actually would happen, even if we go down that road.
When the potential buyers asked us to, or asked us to, or asked if we have ever had a rate study performed, did we ask them if they would be willing to pay for it?
We did not, because if we're going to do a rate study for ourselves, we want to make sure that rate study is objective.
Wouldn't it be premature for us to ask somebody else if we haven't even decided whether or not we're going to do it?
Yeah, at this point, I mean, again, they've asked for that information saying it would be required, but we're proceeding, down the road that we're not sure what's going to happen in the future. And this rate study is needed by anybody to set the proper rates. And if we did decide to sell the system, we would want to know what a rate study told us. We wouldn't want to rely on a vendor to come in and say, well, here's what your rates ought to be. We want to know that going into any negotiations, because that's going to affect the citizens of Rock Island in the future. So that would be information we would want to have. At least it's information staff would recommend to the council.
Well, and getting back to Alderman Parker's comment that a potential buyer would want to help pay for that, they would do that on their own anyway, would they not? I mean, if whatever, regardless of what we give them, whoever that them might be, it would be, I guess, it would be in their best interest to go ahead and do their own study.
Kind of like you hired an appraiser to appraise your house.
Correct.
Now, it's maybe it may not be impartial, maybe partial to you, so they want to go get theirs to verify those numbers, and that's so that makes sense to be able to have an independent done.
All right, I suppose that makes some sense. I just want to make sure that we're not needlessly spending citizens' taxpayers' money.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Alderman Poulos?
Aye.
Alderman Geenan?
Aye.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderman Spaghettis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item 23.
Report from the Traffic and Engineering Committee regarding a request to install a handicapped parking space in front of the residence at 1236 24th Avenue.
Alderman Spaghettis moves to approve the request as recommended and refer to the city attorney for the necessary paperwork.
I'll second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Alderman Poulos?
Aye.
Alderman Geenan?
Aye.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderman Spaghettis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item 24.
Report from the Traffic and Engineering Committee regarding request to install a four-way stop at the intersection of 82nd Avenue West and 8th Street West.
Motion to approve the request as or not as recommended, but motion to approve the request.
Second.
Moved and second. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Alderman Poulos?
Aye.
Alderman Geenan?
Aye.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderman Spaghettis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item 25.
Report from the Mayor's Office regarding the reappointments of Dan Lee and Berlinda Tyler Jameson to the Ethics Commission.
This is Alderman Parker. Move to approve the reappointments as recommended.
Second.
Been moved and second. Is any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Aye.
Alderman Geenan?
Aye.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderman Spaghettis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
Item 26.
Report from the City Clerk's Office regarding street closing and sound amplification request from Dorothy Cotton and Evelyn Day to hold a block party on 43rd Street, 20 to 22nd Avenues on September 12, 2020.
Move to approve the request as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Alderman Poulos?
Aye.
Alderman Geenan?
Aye.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderman Spaghettis?
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Yes.
6-0, motion carries.
All right, back to the item. Dave Morrison, do you have any answers for us?
Yeah, I do
well-
actually. Sorry?
Go ahead, Dave.
Hello? Yes, it looks like to me that if we were to do if someone wanted to do a motion to reconsider who was on the prevailing side, they could do so at this meeting. Otherwise, a renewing of a motion at a later meeting would not have the requirement that it had to be someone on the prevailing side. So they both come under the heading of reconsider, but they actually call the doing it at a later meeting procedure as renewing a motion, and that can be done by anyone on the council.
This is Alderman Parker. I would like to make a motion to reconsider agenda item 20, the report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding an ordinance amending the boundaries of the Quad Cities Enterprise Zone and intergovernmental agreement. We can consider suspend the rules and pass the ordinance, but my amendment would, or the way in which I would change it, and I don't know how to technically do this, but the change would be to include only the location in Moline at this time. So I don't know if I can do it on the fly here, but I'm making a motion to reconsider agenda item 20 with only the Moline location.
This is Tara. My only concern with that reconsideration is that I believe each municipality is to approve the same intergovernmental agreement and ordinance. So that may cause us an issue.
Yep.
That sure will.
Good point.
What? We're going to rescind my proposal.
Help me understand what you were saying there, Dylan.
He's going to rescind his proposal.
Oh, you're going to rescind your proposal, just Moline, okay. Alderman Geenan, would you reconsider the motion if it was not to suspend the rules?
From Moline?
No. For everything, just as read, as it reads in the agenda, but just instead of suspending the rules, we have a second reading on it. Would you consider that?
Well, we could go at this all night. I'm kind of locked in with Dylan and his thing about allowing Moline through. But if it's going to be causing too much of an angst that people want to move on, then I can.
If you could make it.
So this wouldn't force East Moline to accept this. East Moline still has to accept it. So it isn't as if other municipalities are going to be forcing East Moline to do something they don't want to do. And I don't know if they passed it now or not. I know they discussed it. And that had to do specifically with other incentives, whether East Moline wanted to allow it. If East Moline won't allow it, then it wouldn't go through. It wouldn't matter how anyone else votes. That's correct, Tara? Everyone has to pass this, correct?
Correct. Since we are all currently in an intergovernmental agreement for the enterprise zone, we would all need to pass it. In an email that I got from Josh Booty at the county, he said that they currently have no agreement with 3M in regard to property taxes, but I understand where the resistance to the request comes from when someone's appealing their property taxes. But as it stands, it would be the sales tax benefit that they get. And then if they meet certain benchmarks as far as job creation and investment, they could be eligible for some other freezes, but that would be the extent of it at this point.
So when the enterprise zone was first created, this new one that we're in now, there was a lot of discussion about 3M, and I think at the time 3M was the one that didn't pursue it, but I know they were actively trying to get 3M in it. But again, it doesn't matter how we vote. We're not going to dictate to East Moline what they can or can't do. They can still say they don't want it and it doesn't go forward, and then we would later vote on just Moline's. So again, how we vote isn't going to dictate to East Moline what's going to happen there. They're either going to vote to pass it or they're not going to vote to pass it.
Yeah, I understand that. The reporting that I've read, East Moline attempted to split it up, to have two separate votes, one on 3M, one on the Vibrance location or the proposed Vibrant location in Moline. That did not succeed. I think it was a one vote difference. Pretty close and contentious in East Moline. Like I said, the reason that I voted no tonight is because a alderman from East Moline City Council reached out to me and asked for me to be a team player with that half of East Moline City Council. And so the talk about trying to be regional or team player doesn't really resonate with me, seeing as how I have been requested on behalf of East Moline aldermen to vote no. Again, it's not really relevant to the city of Rock Island, but I've been contacted and I'm being a team player.
And then that's kind of why I'm being a team player too, with providing that vote through Dylan's request to me.
Okay. Dave Geenan, are you willing to make a motion to pass this without not using the suspending of the rules?
No, I don't think that would be helpful for the request that came to us from council members.
So we just come back next time.
Well, I'm sorry, Dylan.
I would appreciate the East Moline City Council working with 3M to come to some agreement or resolution that they can all be content with, and then we can move forward.
I'll contact East Moline's city administrator and get some more information on this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Move on to 27, other business. Is there anything else the city council would like to bring forth?
I would like to request the chief to come up and I would like to have him give us an update on how things have been going down in the district area since we moved to the 3 o'clock.
Didn't move there, we stayed there.
Stayed there.
Per se, yeah.
Yep.
For the last few weeks, I've updated the council with emails from Friday and Saturday nights and the nature of calls for service and police response in the district. I think it continues to show that a significant amount of police resources are being expended in the downtown, especially at closing time from 2 to 3 o'clock. There's been some significant incidents as well that have occurred, including a man with a gun, several disturbances, things of that nature. And again, these are the type of calls that tie up a significant amount of police resources. And we still have large crowds inside the fenced area, outside the fenced area. Dealing with issues in the outlying areas of the parking lots. It's been pushed out there. Some of the issues, as we've seen last week, were crowds gathering outside of the gated areas or where admittance was allowed, and upset about not being able to get in or just using that as their loitering point, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Chief, is it true that they, if I may, is it true that they have a fence up down there?
So what I have seen is on the actual plaza, 18th to 19th Streets on 2nd Avenue. There is a fence. It appears to encompass the entire area of the plaza and then goes around the backside of the stage or towards 19th Street. That is appears to be staffed with persons on both sides, the east and west side. And then at 17th Street, there is no gate per se. Arts Alley, I think, originally was supposed to be closed off as well, and I think that was some of the initial understanding. There's nobody putting up fencing there. It's not monitored, and any fencing is just surrounding one establishment on the 1700 block of 2nd Avenue.
So do I understand this correctly, that even though there are fences there, I mean, it's really not doing any good because it's not, I mean, the fences are there to seal it off, and it appears that that's...
It's just pretty open.
Yeah, originally they had fences. I don't know why they haven't recently. Originally it was fenced.
So what that, in a sense, does, it leaves an open area coming from 17 and 2 into such places as Billy Bob's, Black Sheep, those type of things that do not have to go through those entry points. Am I correct? And
yeah, there's just Billy Bob's has a fence that goes around. They've taken the fencing, and I guess this is the provided fencing, and just have a little demarcated area outside of their business. But beyond that, the entire rest of the plaza, or the, I guess, 2nd Avenue in the 1700 block to 1800 block is wide open, and people coming and going. And again, Arts Alley, there's no fencing that's up or being put up, and I think that was one of the original points we were trying to control some traffic in.
And I believe that's true, right? I mean,
Yes.
That was the deal. They were supposed to put fencing up at 17 and 2 as well,
Correct.
along with Arts Alley.
Right there by Arts Alley.
I think it was mid-block there, so
Yeah.
you could come through Arts Alley, but you couldn't get through without going through a gate from there.
But there
I think
was
is what
initially
originally-
gates at 17 and 2 as an entry point,
No,
correct?
it was always right there close to Billy Bob's, right there.
Mid-block.
Midway. Right where Arts Alley starts, to quote Miss Bramani's right there, that's where the entrance was for a number of weeks. It wasn't all the way we're asked. The shops on 2nd, it's not all the way down there.
Okay.
It was not down there. It was up farther, about mid-block.
Yeah, I believe that was the
Originally.
case. Yeah,
Yes.
but there is no, so north-south in that block, there is no gate that extends from the south side of the buildings to the north side of the buildings. And it's just the plaza itself remains open and just fenced-in, demarcated areas for one bar.
So still a lot of loitering outside in that.
Yep.
Outside the confines of those little areas.
I think what part of the problem is that, not to second guess it, I've got some calls into people, but there was a short period of time that Billy Bob's closed down, and when they had a gate there, they were sharing the expense for the door people, and he was not sharing it because he wasn't open. And so that's where they had maybe eliminated it because there was nobody there or nobody paying to have an employee there.
I guess I'm a little disappointed because I know we had at least 2 aldermen that wanted to hear a plan, and I don't see that any plan has been brought forth, or at least not a workable plan, because clearly it's not doing what it was intended to do. You have a wall with 2 open ends. You don't have a wall.
That's correct.
And clearly it's causing, we're still having issues in the downtown area, and I don't think it's benefiting. I don't think it's benefiting the city. I really don't.
Well, to that effect, and you're absolutely right about that, Mark. When you get to a point when you're finding a weapon in a bar, in an establishment, that becomes a problem. And that's obviously nobody is either wanted or people are coming in and out of earlier before the gates are going up or something. But something definitely is.
The wanding was an optional deal, not mandatory. But yes.
I was pretty sure that they were talking about wanding was one of their things that they brought up that they were going to do.
Yeah, my big thing is that council, you know, the move was made to go back to 3 o'clock with the hopes that there would be some plan brought before council, if I understood the reasoning behind it correctly. And I'm just disappointed that they have let council down. They had the opportunity to show that they could handle the downtown going back to 3 o'clock, and it hasn't happened.
What I would need is a council member, several council people that are willing to bring a proposal back, you know, to make sure there's enough support to bring that change back to the.
And how soon can we do that?
I'll check with Dave on that. What I heard tonight was, I thought, a little different than what we'd heard in the past. So I'll have to go over with Dave.
Okay.
Certainly, if it's any kind of different motion, they can come back anytime.
This is Alderman Parker. What is the legality of having non-municipal entities putting up fences and prohibiting access to public property?
Well, I can't, I guess you're talking about like on a right-of-way? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it would depend on whether or not the city has given permission to do so. I mean, certainly if someone were doing it and the city did not want to have that done, the city would have the right to go in and require them to remove that type of barrier. On the issue of could the city consent to allowing that, I believe they probably could, just like you do for events such as go-kart racing and other things. You know, but I think it would have to be an affirmative act of some sort, most likely. I can do some more research, but that would be my off the top of my head answer.
Yeah, so normally that's the case. Normally someone comes to council, but if you remember a few months ago, you gave the mayor the authority to make those adjustments on his own without coming to council, and that was to help the various bars and restaurants as they sought to open outside and not have to come and request permission every time they wanted to put something on a sidewalk. And that included street closures, which I've had aldermen ask about. When are we going to start closing the streets downtown? So we even got that question. So you have given that authority to the mayor. So, but
right.
Typically, no, it would come to the council every time.
Do we have a written agreement or an executed agreement in place with, we'll just use the bar owners as the term here. Do we have something in writing between these entities that we are saying have broken some agreement that they were going to provide security in exchange for having public property limited?
No, not that I'm aware of. It's all on the verbal agreement.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to hold people accountable to these things, perhaps we should have things in writing.
Except for what they stated.
I guess I have a question for Mr. Morrison. With the I guess it would be a new declaration by the governor to extend out to September. Does that then give the mayor the authority to make a emergency order like has been done in the past to go back to an earlier closing time while this is being considered?
I would think that would be possible. I'd have to look at the wording. I'm not the exact wording of the governor's most recent order, but I think it certainly would be possible. Yes, that if we're talking about an emergency situation for the health and safety of the community, I think that that does that avenue likely exists.
Well, it's not just for the health and safety of the community, and just because when the police department has that many resources dedicated to one area, you're leaving other areas virtually unprotected. So it is a greater safety issue than just being downtown.
Yeah, no, I don't think that the safety issue. I think that if it goes to public health or safety, it wouldn't be necessarily only health and safety downtown. I think that if you talk about health and safety of the citizenry for the city of Rock Island in general.
Thank you.
To clarify again, I am not opposed to temporary limitations on businesses. I think it's a good idea. I was opposed to a permanent change in the ordinance.
Technically, it wasn't permanent. We were changing the ordinance. It could have been changed back at any time. But
that's about as permanent as it gets for legislation. And
whatever. I disagree with that on that statement. But at this point,
I am fine with passing a resolution with the city council limiting temporarily for a month. I mean, so that we don't. That's the thing with the governor, right? Is that everybody's complaining that the governor is doing all these actions without the legislative branch. Well, I'm fine with having the city council consider a ordinance or resolution or whatever that temporarily, due to the health situation going on, that would limit business hours. I'm fine with that, but I'm not going to change the ordinance.
Well, we need to change the behavior of people, especially between 2 and 3. That's what we need to change. But all right, we will work on potentially. I think if several council members wish to bring this forth, please let either Randy or I know, and how you would like to see it, and we will work on trying to draft something accordingly and talk to the
Chief. Thank you for the update.
Yep. Is there any other? I can't speak. Any other business?
Yeah, this is Alderwoman Swanson. I just want to implore and ask the people of Rock Island to please follow the safety guidelines, social distance, wear your mask. On Wednesday, 2 counties, Kankakee and Will County, will have additional restrictions put on them because they've had an 8% positivity rate over 3 days. Our positivity rate is 6.6%, so we're getting there, people. And we had 33 new positive cases and 1 new death reported today. So in light of the conversation about additional bar hours and all the businesses, I would just like to tell people, if you don't want our businesses to close down, and if you don't want further restrictions, then we all need to pull it together and start distancing, keeping the numbers low in the bars and the restaurants and the stores. Everybody needs to wear their masks, because unless we want to go back, we need to make some changes in our behavior, because it's starting to creep up and no one's going to like where it ends up at. That's all.
Thank you. Well said.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Alderwoman Swanson. To that end, it's my understanding that staff is putting together policies and procedures for a local application of the rules that the state came up with lately. Has that been completed yet?
It will have that in place here this week, but if we do get a complaint, we're prepared to go out and address that. So far, we've only received complaints from about 2 businesses, and we are handling those just by having initially a conversation with them and reiterating what the rules are and handing them a copy of the actual rules the state has published.
Yeah, I believe that is part of the official rules, is that it's not a fine first off. You got a written warning or whatever, and then it eventually progressively gets to.
That's right. So we're just, right now it's a verbal. We can get something more serious, and then we have the fines established. We've established that we don't need any ordinance changes or anything, because the state has mandated or authorized those fines. So we're prepared. So while we don't have all the written procedures completely done, if there are issues, we're prepared to go in and begin to enforce those.
Okay. There's nothing else for other business. We're on to item number 28.
5 ILCS 120/2C12. Excuse me. The establishment of reserves or settlement of claims is provided in the Local Governmental and Governmental Employees Tort Immunity Act if otherwise a disposition of a claim or potential claim might be prejudiced, or the review of discussion of claims, loss or risk management information, records, data, advice, or communications from or with the respect to any insurer or the public body or any intergovernment risk management association or self-insurance pool of which the public body is a member. And then 5 ILCS 120/2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel of the public body.
Alderman Geenan, I move that we move into executive session.
I'll second.
Been moved in second. Any discussion on that? Roll call.
Alderman Parker.
Aye.
Alderman Poulos.
Aye.
Alderman Geenan.
Aye.
Alderman Hurt.
Yes.
Alderman Spurgettis.
Yes.
Alderwoman Swanson. Alderwoman Swanson? Yeah, she's muted. Nod your head.
She's left the meeting. She's
Okay.
Okay,
Are we logging in with a new invite, Randy?
5-0, motion carries.